Cool. Welcome to the show, Finn. Great to have you.
Thank you to have me here, and looking forward to our conversation, Guru.
Let's do it. Do you want to start with a quick introduction to tell us a little bit about you, what you do?
Yes, of course. So I'm Finn, and I'm the COO and co-founder of Lab to Business. We are supporting early stage founders in a sense of a co-founder as a service. So we support them to sharpen their idea, develop their business, develop the team, or even get the team on board and to get them funding. So the whole package, more or less. That's currently my passion. I'm driving forward.
I'm saying love it. How did you end up here? What is your story?
To start with, I have a background in molecular biotechnology, and when I did my studies, I think what was always the driving force was to have kind of impact, right? So I think that was at the very beginning when I started studying molecular biotechnology, it was like the power of this, that time, new technique, or quite new technique, to transform so many different areas of our life. And I think that's still driving me. But my journey went away more or less from, I would say, from pure academic research and biotech, rather to the business side. And I spent some years in management consulting, always with a focus on the life science industry. I spent in industry where I had different positions in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship. I had a lot of contact to investors. When I started my job as a freelancer, it frees up your mind a little bit, and you get more creative, and you see so many opportunities. And then this mantra more or less came back to have an impact. And I found Sven, who's my co-founder, and he was also supporting startups already, especially with grant applications. And I was approached by other people who said, "Hey, Finn, you have a good network, you have a good understanding of the business. We have the science background, you have a good understanding now from the business, but you still understand us. So when we're telling you something about science, you still get it, and you can translate it into a commercial context." And at that time, we sat together and said, "Hey, there must be a huge need for early stage science or early stage founders or scientists with the goal to found their own business, to really give them hands-on support." There are a lot of different support measures you can ask for, of course, accelerators, but these are often only for a certain time frame. Then you have the founding offices or founding support offices at universities, but they do not have the capacity to do it really operational. And we thought, hey, let's rather act as a temporary co-founder as a service, more or less, like from funding stage to funding stage. And it's awesome. It's a nice thing. And we
love it.
Have great contact to great founders. That's nice.
Love it. Like contract co-founder as a service.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
I love it. I think it is really powerful, because when you start a company, you cannot have all the skills you need, right? One person cannot be good at the tech side of things, fundraising, right, customer selling. So you do need complementary skills, and it takes time to find people you want to work with. It's like a marriage, right? So until you are ready for that level of commitment, contract co-founder sounds like a great solution.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And we're also trying, I always call it like a partnership, because it's rather a partnership client-customer relationship, right? And we go the journey together, but our goal is also to work together with them, but also to enable them that they can do the next steps on their own.
Right.
That's always our goal. It's also like that we just reduce a little bit the support in this field and for the next funding round. And it's super rewarding.
No, 100%. And so you play a role of a business co-founder, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And help with fundraising, operations, and partnerships, other commercial strategy. Okay.
So fundraising is one part, but what we always say, we don't want to only do fundraising, because it's not that we are only doing fundraising consulting, because it's rather to create value and then to connect, creating value together with the startup and then connect them to the right investors we have in our network.
Sure.
So
How do you pitch? How do you pitch LabBench to business? Like, what is your pitch? What is it? Do you pitch it as a contract co-founder, or
to our partners? We pitch it exactly like a contract co-founder, and with the goal to generate together funding for the next funding round. So sometimes when we start in a very early stage, it's also sometimes a grant, because also not always equity funding, like the classical equity funding is something which fits to everyone. You can nicely generate funding via corporations, via licensing deals, via royalty deals, via cooperating with mid-sized companies to have corporate venture capital, which adds sometimes a little bit more operational know-how to the startups. And that's what we also find out together with our clients or with our partners. Because I think the funding always depends on both personal considerations. So where do I want to go? And especially in Europe, it's often like that they do not really want to do the typical Silicon Valley model, like increasing, like going up like this, and business considerations. Because for each and every business, you need if you're in a drug development arena, you need so much money. I mean, to get it done somehow. Then, of course, you're a little bit restricted. But if you're probably in developing a new lab equipment on your own or something like that, sometimes less funding is also sufficient. And these two factors we take into account, and then develop a funding strategy together with our partners, and then see what's the right funding and how do they also want to work in the future.
Right. And especially now, there are so many resources, so many startup resources are available, right? So it's a mess. You have to identify what are those opportunities. So I think having a partner like you, who has experience in the industry, can be really powerful, because there are many pharma companies willing to support smaller stage companies, right? Governments are willing to support it. There are many accelerator programs. Then there are angels, there are big networks like trade associations.
Exactly.
So you name it, there's so many options. But the big thing is, are you really taking benefit of all the options you have at your disposal?
Totally agree. And I think as a scientist who's coming from like lab work or like, you cannot know all these options. Or of course you can educate yourself, but it takes you some time, both to educate yourself and then to build the right network. And that's more or less what we are providing. We have the connection. We can provide them with the overview and also know the pros and cons of these different funding sources. But not only funding sources, but also, what about the IP topics? We cooperate with IP lawyers, with lawyers. I mean, contracts is such an important thing. It's crazy, right? And it can take a lot of money in the beginning to set up the right contract with like customers. And we have special deals with lawyers where we can get very, very low rates. And so and I think that's how we support our partners.
Sure. So let's break down the value you're adding to the companies. One is, you obviously have a big network. So as soon as they decide to work with you, it gives them access to your network, right? Number one. So networks are really powerful. That's what I learned while running a startup. It generally accelerate your progress.
Exactly.
Then the second thing is, obviously, network can be used for different purposes. Second can be more focused, like fundraising, whether it is non-dilutive or angels, VCs, you name it, right? And then other thing is more, you have a partner network that you get special rates from your lawyers and maybe accounting firms. Or do you have accounting firm partnership as well? Or
we also have that.
So all these complementary firms, companies get special rate because you're probably working with tens of or hundreds of companies, and so it's easier for you to negotiate discount.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So these are the three values I can see. Anything I missed here?
Probably like really hands-on support, like manpower, more or less, I would say. Like, because if it's only about like applying for grants, or if it's about developing market studies, or if it's about finding the right lab space, we have the network, we have the resources to put in there. Usually we do the whole business part in a business plan, or we support them in developing that, because I mean, also a business plan is, at a certain point in time, it's always more or less the same structure. Of course, it's a different content, but if you've written like 20, 30 business plans for life science startups, you begin to see like the same themes, more or less.
Sure.
And that's what we also provide with them, like really hands-on support, sitting next to them and bringing them actual value and support, at least on the business side. We always say the science is yours, but we support them in the business side and in the translational side, like IP, like regulatory stuff. Also here we have partners who are supporting us and our clients, and that's what we also bring to the table, I would say.
Right. And one thing I think we should emphasize as founders here is it really helps, because running a startup is really hard, right? You just need someone to bounce ideas, right? So you change your strategy because you're doing so many different things, right? You can never be confident that this is the right decision. You need somebody reliable to bounce ideas with, right? So it is really impactful thing. Nobody talks about this access to someone trustworthy who can bounce ideas with you.
Right, and therefore we have also in our advisory board, like, we have an advisory board which also serves our partners, and we have serial entrepreneurs here, experienced founders, and we typically also connect our partners with them to get some insights, guys who really know what it takes to be an entrepreneur for the last 30 years or something like that. And, I think that's also great. While you just said that, I think this mentorship or challenging different ideas is super important. But what we also do is, and I think I more and more see that it's more powerful working together with clients, that we typically have the overall project management in our hands. So typically one of us is really driving the pure project management, organizing all the meetings, or organizing all the alignment meetings, or having all the content organized in a certain way, and also driving the different topics. So typically at the very beginning, we line up a typical Gantt chart, right? We have all the topics we wanna cover, and then we have a big timeline, and then monthly meetings. We typically have monthly meetings, and then in between that we have small agile teams who are working on different tasks together with our partners, or sometimes only Lab Venture Business alone, or only the partner alone. And then we have meetings, and then we update each other. But it's always more or less driven by us, and we have the whole overview. Do the small parts fit together? Because I think that's also another thing. I guess you experience that too. There's so many different moving parts.
Oh man, don't get me started.
and that is, I think, we really bring value in here, because we do not lose the overview, and then we see how it all connects to each other. And I didn't meant to be it's so powerful, but now I see that it's really quite powerful to have that.
Right. And I think where I see the real impact, one of the real impacts is like slightly like fresh perspective, right? So entrepreneurs are generally overexcited about everything, right? So they get overexcited, they make decisions, right? So someone from outside who still understand your business can look at your decision and your operations from fresh perspective, can really help you, right? I didn't realize that before, because I was like, oh, I'm excited, I understand the industry, this is a great decision. But what I realized is more perspective you get, you de-risk your time and investment. And
it's a very good thing, because I mean, how you typically do it, and you just talked about it, is when you have clients and they give you feedback on your product, but in an early stage you can learn a lot from that before even launching your final product, and even then during the time you get probably a different perspective, and also a feedback from a customer is always subjective how you see the feedback from a customer, and I think that's also super valuable to challenge that together.
You're right. You don't want to be too attached to your decisions, your baby, right? So if you are too attached, you end up making a bad decision, and that's when partners like Lab Bench to Business can help. Really?
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. And so what type of companies currently you are supporting?
In general, we always say we are supporting life science companies, and life science is of course quite a huge term, right? And everyone defines it a little bit different. Sometimes you see that life science is only drug development. Sometimes life science is like everything which has something to do with life, more or less, like from medtech to healthcare to white biotech. Right. And we rather see the bigger scope here. So in general, we are supporting green biotech companies, white biotech, like industrial biotech companies in the healthcare sector, but also medtech and laboratory technology. What we do not support, and I think that's sometimes often a misunderstanding, is currently very high topic of health tech, because I think we cannot add so much value here, because I think that's rather a tech-driven topic, like I don't know, apps against migraine or whatsoever, all these topics. I think there are other experts out there. So typically we are rather attached to these who have found something in the lab, I would say. So that's more or less. But is it going into the application of white biotechnology or sometimes green biotech? That's our scope. And currently we have clients in the arena of drug development. So that's a pretty cool project. We also support someone in the field of laboratory equipment, so quite a innovative approach for laboratory equipment. We have clients. I see that. Yeah, it's really crazy. We have quite some clients in the diagnostic area. Okay. So probably driven also by COVID, but a lot of things are going on in the diagnostic arena. So, and not only like high-end diagnostic, but also at-home diagnostic. There's a lot going on, and there you can already see it's not that we are supporting like 30 clients at a time. So because we are working really side by side with them. So I think currently with our team, we are I think 8-9 people at the moment. So in the core team, then we have an advisory board and a huge network behind us. Yeah, we can definitely support like 6-7 startups at a time, but I think not more, because that's more or less our capacity at the moment. And
how do you plan to scale it? Because your business model, it feels like incubator model. You come to us and then there's like graduation period, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and okay, then fresh batch will come. So how do you plan to scale it? I know YC managed to scale it quite well. They used to have very few companies in the batch. Now it's virtual. They're like close to 300 companies, like 290 companies. And similarly, Techstar, there's a scaling, very innovative model. So do you have any plans to scale it, and how do you want to do it?
Actually, we had thoughts or have thoughts on it. So, but I think it won't happen, I would say, in the next 1 to 2 years. So how I see the business model is quite a long-term topic. So because, I mean, it's not that we push the founders through, because I mean we are starting with early stage founders, sometimes even still in the lab, and attached to a university. So you typically start with a grant, then the grant runs for 18 to 24 months. Only then you look for probably business angel investment or family offices or whatsoever. So the seed funding that will give you another extra 12 to 18 months. So there you can already see that I think a business model which is rather planning in the long run. However, and that is something we had in mind from the very beginning, I think technology can very much support us in making us more efficient and scale it a little bit more. So at the beginning, we wanted to have a huge knowledge management system behind it everything, and then we tried to start it, and we found out that it's a whole different topic to set this up. I mean, it's a little bit, I think it connects also probably a little bit to SciSpot. We wanted to have is a little bit like the whole knowledge we have in our heads is somehow in the technology, and then we can, for example, like an example is what I just told you, a business plan. It's like when you've seen 30, 40 business plans, I think you can automate the development of a business plan for another client at least to 50%, probably even more. And if you could leverage this, I think that's quite visionary, because you need to have a lot of technology in there. But if you combine all the knowledge of business plans in the life science arena, or if you burn it down and say, hey, we have done 30, 40 business plans in the drug development arena, I think you can definitely leverage that. But we very soon found out that this is far too much for us at the moment. And that's why we put it to the side and then said, hey, and I think that's another thing you also learned: focus, right? And let's first make our clients we are currently serving super happy, learn together with them, and then find out, okay, where can we really, in which parts can we really scale a little bit, or do we need to have an additional business model so besides lab bench to business, so that we still have this it's more or less consulting business in lab bench to business, but then on the side a business which you can better scale. So, but these are all future thoughts and
Sure. No, I agree with you. I think Paul Graham says that do things in the beginning that cannot scale. I'm obviously paraphrasing, because if you grow too fast, you will die fast too, because you want to make sure you only get few customers that really love your product, right? You don't just want to have 1,000 customers, because easy to sell. That's what I learned. When I started selling SciSpot, I realized, boy, I could sell more than we can manage. So we made a decision. We don't want to sell too much, right? Because we don't want to have 1,000 customers hating us. We'd rather have 10, 20 customers really loving us.
Exactly.
So I
loyal customers, and then especially in the beginning, because you get so much valuable feedback from them, and then it's better to have close connections with them.
That's true.
And a good level of trust between you, and then they give you honest feedback. You can further shape your business model and your offering, and then slowly get better and better and think about scaling. Yeah, totally agree.
Right. You mentioned SciSpot option.
Come on.
So you talked quite a bit about institutional knowledge, right? Yeah. Not just with your business, but also with scientific business.
Yeah.
Over time, you gather institutional knowledge, right? You create templates, you have SOPs, you have protocols. So when you hire new people, you lose some people over time. When you hire new people, you want to make sure you're not losing your institutional knowledge. Your IP is becoming stronger, right? Your internal trade secret is becoming stronger. Yeah. So that's what we focus on. So we allow our customers, whenever they plan their experiments, SOPs, they can simply templatize it, maintain all the version history, and maintain the records. So if someone leaves, they have complete audit trail of who did what, when templatized. And I think every knowledge-based company should focus on preserving their institutional knowledge, because that's how they become more valuable.
Yeah, totally agree. And there's so many parts also at Lab Bench to Business where you can create so much value. I mean, just think about like standard contracts. It's like if you go to a lawyer and want to have a founder's agreement like from scratch, or I don't know, even a licensing agreement or royalty agreement, it's sky high, the prices. If you have a template and you have a lawyer by your hand and then who can review it, it's like only percentage of the normal price when you would go to a lawyer.
Yes.
It's something like that. I mean, It's or also like if you have the experience of a lot of pitch decks. Of course, it's always how you present the pitch deck, but at a certain point in time, you know most of the tricks
Right.
with having good pitch decks. And if you preserve this knowledge, it's such a powerful tool, and especially compared to when you compare it to our typical clients who typically come from science. So at least in Europe, if you're studying, I don't know, any field of science, you hear, so you can be a postdoc and have never heard about any single topic of business.
Right.
It was the same with me, and it's still like that. You can have a master's degree or a PhD or even a postdoc, and you never learned any single topic about entrepreneurship or business or team building or whatsoever. That's pretty interesting.
No, I like how you're thinking. I also think similarly. For example, if I'm doing next-gen sequencing, right? Purpose can be totally different, but main ingredients part remain the same. I have to prepare library, I have to book equipment, I have to have all the reagents, I have to run the equipment, right? Then I have to analyze the data, then I have to create a report. So these basic ingredients remain the same. So you want to make sure you're templatizing all of your, like how you prepare library, what is your booking system, and all these processes. And if you go back to contract example, then if it is shareholder agreement, you want to make sure there are like 5-6 clauses you want to cover, right? Then you need lawyer to make sure there's no loophole and
you're not missing. You always need a lawyer on your side. That's for sure.
Right. But 90% of the thing can be templatized, can be standardized, and I think science needs more standardization. And it's science. Impact is massive, but if you look deep within the process can be templatized, right? It's like
I fully agree.
Yeah, sorry, I get overexcited.
No, our companies share a mission because you're more or less enabling companies to have that, and we are more or less making use of it. So it's of this big knowledge, and still I think there lies a huge potential for us ourselves to organize that much better. So at the moment we have a real low-tech version of our internal knowledge management system, but at a certain point in time it definitely needs like an upgrade, I would say.
100%.
So that's the vision here.
That's great. What type of impact do you aim to make, let's say, in a decade? Like what success metric you are measuring currently?
We measure our successes like with the successes of our partners and clients. And so what we are aiming for, so I would say in 10 years, if we have successfully supported at least 50 companies to bring fantastic science from the lab, and that's where the name is coming from the lab to business, and make a real business and commercial impact. And at the end, not only a business impact, but an impact on the environment, a positive impact on the environment, on a patient, on whatsoever. I think then we did a great job. So that would be, in a decade, that would be my goal. And of course, you always need to count in that not every client will hit it and will survive it. That's, I mean, you know that better than I do. And but if we achieve that, I think then we did a good job or great job. And
well, that's a great goal, because the companies you are supporting, I think it makes sense to emphasize that they are not companies creating app that will just convince you to click more, right? These are the companies that are bringing life-saving drugs. So by empowering them means you can potentially impact millions of lives.
Exactly. Or reduce waste or carbon dioxide or whatsoever. I mean, in the field of white biotechnologies, there's so much powerful technologies which have such a huge impact on sustainability in our environment. It's just impressive. So also in the green field, like feeding the world, having enough food for all of us. It's pretty interesting.
One thing I would love to know from you is, because you're working with these companies so closely coming out of universities or early
Yeah.
stage companies, do you see any new trend, like where this industry is going in terms of new technologies, new type of companies, new type of goals? So what is that new trend in, at least in the Europe where your focus is?
Yeah. So I think one huge trend I can see, two or three. I mean, I will start with the first one. So one thing is what I can clearly see is that companies more and more focus on the sustainability topic, and not only as a side topic, so not only like yes, we have a certain impact on sustainability. No, it's really about a direct impact on reducing, like, for example, alternative fuels or alternative materials that change whatsoever, packaging or whatever, like make them reusable and so on and so forth. So, and I see a lot of potential of biotechnology in here.
Right.
That's really crazy, and I think there's still more potential, still more potential lies in here. Because typically in life science, everyone is always focused on healthcare and drug development. But I think this is also quite a powerful field in here, and where the technology of biotech can enable a lot, or life sciences per se.
I agree with you. The whole industrial biotech, like how biology is becoming more like engineering, right?
Exactly.
So not just to discover things, but really to engineer things, to use it as a machinery.
Exactly, and how also it's viewed like by the chemical industry. The chemical industry is more and more turning to the industrial biotechnology, and then looking how they can use alternative sources than oil for their production, and I see there a quite huge impact. The other thing I mentioned it beforehand. What I can also see is a huge trend, and that's again in the healthcare sector. In diagnostics, so and on different levels. So I think there's, I always call it like high-tech diagnostics, or really on the genetic level, or if you're looking at the microbiome, and you can really find out, okay, you can find out 1,000 of things based on like a microbiome probe or something like that. That's fascinating, and that's for me the high-end and diagnostic arena. And also the low end, where you can test yourself at home, like all these COVID antigen tests make it possible. Everyone is used to do that, and a lot of people are looking for easy tests at home, that you do not have to go to the doctor to diagnose, I don't know, influenza or whatsoever. Also other illnesses at home, or be it by a medical doctor, where you very soon need to diagnose, like, for example, if you're in the emergency room and you need to check, or you need to rule out certain things, because sometimes the people come in and you do not really know what they have, and you just do a quick test and have your result after 3 minutes. And I see there a huge trend, at least in the healthcare arena. So these are the big topics. Another topic is which is huge, I think, at the moment, but I think that it's already on the rise. So from a maturity level is the whole food topic. I think that's pretty hot. It's crazy, but actually we do not have any client here. But I see that in the industry, it's such a hot topic. All this.
No, I really find these companies super exciting. We do have some customers, lab-grown meat companies. Lab-grown meat, they're producing milk without cow. They're using like memory cells.
Egg, whatsoever. And it's all based on fascinating science, often.
It is. No, it is really cool. No, I agree with you, especially health side. I agree with you, because a human machinery generate arguably more data than anything else, right? So we want to make sure we capture all the data. It is centralized, it is secure, it is owned by a patient or human, not by insurance provider. So it's like a huge market. There are hundreds of players working on it, including Apple. And so to really help us centralize our health data and then make sense out of it. But currently it's a mess. I don't have my microbiome data connected with my sequencing data, connected with my immune profile data, with my different blood test reports and my brain activity when I'm going towards insanity.
Yeah. And if you connect that, that is so powerful. And that's just amazing, I guess, what you can take out for you as a patient, and of course in a population as a whole. I think then you can do big correlation studies and so on, and the whole field of bioinformatics comes in here. And
right. I would love to, in the decade or so, love to see the world where I have all of my data. If I have heart attack risk, right? If I'm doing something, it just notifies me, stop doing that or stop eating that, right? You're gonna die. So these type of like data-driven recommendation. Currently, you go to a doctor, it's very subjective, right? All the things they do. So based on their experience, they have quite a bit data in their head, but still, if we have all the data centralized in real time, machine robot is making a real time decision with the consultation of doctor, right? Doctor can help label it and have better feedback loop.
Of course.
But I do think diagnostic is totally untapped. There are many companies, but still a lot to be done.
And I think another thing what I see is that and when you just mentioned the diagnosis of a doctor, there is often a lack of biomarkers, like really a quantifiable biomarker. And sometimes it's not only one biomarker, as we know from our physiology and biochemistry. It's the interplay of a lot of different biomarkers, and they are influenced by different factors. Is it day? Is it night? Do you feel well? Don't you feel well? Did you eat something? And they're all fluctuating. But at the end, making sense out of it and finding the right biomarkers to also make the diagnosis process much more reliable, because often diagnosis at the doctor is sometimes just an example for neurological diseases. It's often nothing based on biomarkers, but rather on I don't know.
It's a guesswork, right? Sometimes I don't want to underestimate the data doctors, physicians collect over time. This is very powerful, but still humans make mistake, right? So we want to make sure there's all millions of data points, well labeled, machine learning models are trained. So what you're getting is not based on human. There's no scope for human error. That's what I'm trying to say, and better decision, faster decision.
Diagnostics is a huge field here, because or as you said, it's still quite untapped. I fully agree. And that's why I think that there's a lot of energy in this market at the moment, and I see a lot of startups rising here, which is good, I think.
I do see. I mean, currently everyone is talking about NFT, blockchain, but I do see blockchain can be a great use case for blockchain.
It's a huge enabler for that. That's
exactly
definitely. It's an enabling technology, more or less. I see it like this. For this kind of stuff. Totally.
So only you own your data. You can monetize it whenever you like. You can use it for your health benefits.
Exactly.
So the whole tokenization of this, your own data, can be really powerful. Then some people, one famous scientist recently, he is introducing his own sequencing data as an NFT. So it's, I think George Church is doing that.
Okay.
Famous biotech guy. So I mean, there's so many futuristic things happening, but a lot to be done.
And I think we are in a field where a lot of stuff is still untapped and happening. And plus, and that's the nice thing, plus what you just said, all the other technologies which are not in the life science arena, like blockchain, like AI, are all enabling technologies for life sciences. That's the great stuff. So blockchain has great benefits for life science impact and research. AI is used like for such powerful discoveries in life sciences, and I think that's the fascinating thing with life sciences.
Right.
So,
It makes sense because if you look at any bio company, what is their main asset? It is their data,
it is.
right?
Yeah.
Health company is one of the most expensive data is health data.
It is.
So you need these enabling tools, technologies to really make sense out of it and take the full advantage of the data you gather or generate.
Yeah. But
Cool.
for that, you need to have the interplay between like the patient, the government. You need to have the data protection stuff, regulations. You need to have insurances on there. You need to have the big pharma companies in here. It's a huge task, I would say.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
still worth it.
Right. That's why I sometimes doubt if bigger company like Apple or Facebook or insurance company can really do a huge can really make a huge impact here because there's trust deficit, right? So I sometimes think maybe decentralization of that will work because people are confident that their data is not going to be monetized by someone else or misused by someone else. So,
super important aspect.
Right. The trust element is missing. I think I do see this as one of the major barriers why people are not even digitizing their health data or their biotech companies' data sometimes, and because they think their data is not safe. So
exactly.
as a tech company, your job is to really do a good job to win that trust that data is yours.
Yeah.
Cool. I would love to know your thoughts because I know you're very passionate about empowering bio entrepreneurs. You and I both want to see many, many more bio entrepreneurs in the coming years, many new cool biotech companies with impactful product. So if you have to answer, like, how do you start a biotech company? Or like, when do you start a biotech company? What are the key stages? What do they have to keep in mind? So like a quick toolkit, what would you say?
So I think it always starts with like in the biotech field, it always starts with great science, I would say. So that's typically the start, and you should make sure that the science is is solid and the results are reliable, because that's not always a given. So I think that's where it all starts.
Right.
So science is one thing, great science, but of course, I think in the next step, you should really make sure that the science you're looking at is solving a real problem. So that's making the fit of the technology you're looking at with the real unmet need out there. And often science is on such a deep level that you can use the science in quite some different application fields, I would say, or even sometimes industries. You can solve different problems, and you should make sure that you find these problems and find the right or the biggest unmet need where you see the biggest potential your technology or solution has. So I think that's something you should start with, but at the end you need to have and at the end, especially in the biotech field, you cannot win alone, I think. So you always need a great team. You need to have the right network. We talked about it. You need to have the right mentors. You need to have and I think you need to have a whole bunch of very different people and expertises around you. So as we just talked about it, you need to have the scientific expertise. You probably need to have, like lawyers, IP lawyers. You need regulatory experts. You need commercial experts. You need to have people who know the business, like a little bit. And I think if you have them around you, you do not have to have them in your team, but if you can soak up knowledge from them and they say, hey, I want to support you, I think that's super powerful. I think these are prerequisites.
Right. No, I agree with you because biotech, it's a very hyper specialized industry, right? You cannot have all the skills, all the resources in-house. So So you need expertise, different
It's impossible.
tools, different technologies. So you have to
Right.
rely on the network, right? It's not a
Always.
one man's job or one human's job.
It cannot be. I think cannot work like that. And then I think, yeah, if you really have the fascinating science, the real unmet need, you have a great team where you have big trust, but also big energy in the team, because I think that's the most powerful thing you can have as a young company, to have a lot of energy in your team. Then I think you need to get into the execution mode, and I think this is where a lot of companies fail. And you need to be like, because you're then moving a little bit away from the science and trying to bring the science to the market. And that can be a very lengthy process. And
totally.
And it can also be frustrating, because it takes, especially again in the biotech field, it could take years and sometimes even decades, if you're talking about drug development, until you make an impact. But you really, and I think there again comes the good team in here, because if you have a great team which has a good level of energy and driving, and has a good vision, and says, hey, we really want to make it, I think that gives you a lot of power here, plus a good, and then again the network which is supporting you to master this execution challenge. And that's a very general thing. And then there you have a lot of different problems, because sometimes it's not scientific anymore. It's a lot of regulatory stuff. It's a lot of IP stuff. It can be very bureaucratic at some points. But at the end, I think you should really always see the big goal in future, where you can make an impact on health of life, or on the future of our planet, or whatsoever. I think that should be always a driving force.
It's a long-term game, right? If you are looking for quick return and you are not in it for right reasons, you just want to start a biotech company because it's cool to be a founder, then you're going to leave very soon, right? With this, so many challenges every day. But if you are more connected with the purpose, I think you will make it work.
The purpose is the main driving force here. As you said, because it's such a lengthy game, and you typically do not have a market launch after 3 years or something like that. It's just it's a long-term game.
Right. We have 2 more minutes. What advice would you give to aspiring bio entrepreneurs?
So I think what as an advice, and not making advertisement for us, but be open to collaborate, and because a lot of people I know wanna do it on their own, and then they say, yes, I will get it on my own. I need to make it on my own. And then I think, and as we just said, it's a collaborative game. You need to have so many different skill sets in biotech that I would say it's even almost impossible to do it alone. And be open for support in different areas, or also admit to yourself that you cannot do everything on your own. I think this is super powerful at the beginning, because as a scientist, you're always like super convinced that this is the next big breakthrough, but and it can be the next big breakthrough. However, it's not worth anything if you do not execute it well, and therefore you need support.
Execution is the name of the game, for sure. Finn?
I would say so, and better don't do it alone. That's my advice. And I think if you follow that, I think 80% of the problems solve themselves or are solved.
I would love to talk many more hours. It's so interesting. But Finn, it was a real pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, to get that inspiring energy from you. And I will connect with you very soon.
Thank you for your great questions and for the nice conversation. Have a nice day. Thank you, Guru. Bye-bye.